The game follows the story of a military guy, a journalist, and a geologist sent on a space mission to destroy an asteroid that's on a collision course with the Earth. As the group lands on this asteroid, they find signs of life and accidentally trigger some alien technology, which teleports them to some faraway planet. The plot is centered around them trying to find a way home and uncovering the mysteries of the planet along the way. The story is actually based on an idea created by Steven Spielberg, and the game is notable for being the most serious LucasArts title. Ever since I played Heart of Darkness as a kid and was impressed by that looking over the cliff scene, I've always had a subconscious fascination with the idea of exploring an alien planet by myself. It's one of those concepts that suits a game better than a movie or a book, yet so few games have ever made a serious attempt of being just about exploring a weird world. Out of the ones I've played, The Dig is one of the best, even if the solemn atmosphere is disturbed by a cast of unlikable characters, but we'll get to that later. What The Dig does really well is setting and mood. The excellent orchestral soundtrack, coupled with eye-pleasing visuals, makes for a very ethereal and, dare I say, epic atmosphere at times. The hand-drawn backgrounds are beautiful, with some scenic views and interesting angles, though the color palette is kind of monotonous with orange and blue dominating. The ambient sounds bring life to the scenes and complement the orchestral music. There's a great sense of mystery and wonder that makes exploring the alien landscapes fascinating, though it starts degrading over time as gameplay routines and mechanical repetition kicks in, but that's inevitable in any kind of game with any challenge. And, like in every other space game, making contact with aliens was a disappointing experience, though not as disappointing as in Outcast, where an alien comes chatting to you as soon as you start the game, and makes you do a bunch of contrived tutorial missions. That kind of thing just ruins my immersion. And it kind of undermines the mystique of it all when an alien life form tells you to press spacebar to jump, and then informs you that you're their new messiah, after forcing you to play hide-and-seek. At least in The Dig, you've got a team member who spends most of the game studying alien runes to decrypt their language. I wish there was more ambiguity. I'd like to see a game where you spend the entire thing alone, never coming across another intelligent life form. But the civilization you encounter in The Dig is effectively dead, so it is still an interesting setup, as you're left to wonder what could have happened to the race that invented life crystals that can revive the dead. The puzzles are a mixed bag. You spend a lot of time tinkering with alien technology, and most of the time it just devolves to trial and error based clicking. It feels more like Myst than Monkey Island, as you're trying to figure alien logic. In a way, the puzzles can be more abstract and logical as they don't have to follow real-life conventions. In a few spots, you do have to think creatively, like putting a tracking device on a rat to find an item it stole, and rebuilding a dead turtle with explosives and life crystals to kill a lake monster. Some objects, and even areas, blend into the scenery, and at times they're indicated by your mouse, which is really annoying, as you can easily miss something and have to backtrack between areas over and over again. Even if you do know what you're doing, there's too much backtracking in the game. There's only one location, and as you progress in the game, you open up more shortcuts and openings between the areas, which admittedly makes you feel like you're accomplishing something when you don't have a clear objective. Another point where the game compares unfavorably to other LucasArts titles is the characters. They're meant to be more realistic, but they come across as petulant and unlikable. As soon as you enter the alien planet, your characters start bickering and splitting up, which is just illogical behavior. That's not how trained professionals act in a dangerous situation. And there's no gradual progression here either. The characters just decide to start acting like unlikable pricks as soon as the shit hits the fan. The fact that there's no funny, well-written dialogue, like in other games, does not help the situation. You want to hit each possible dialogue option to get all the possible reactions in other LucasArts games, but here, you just want to avoid talking to the other characters as much as possible, especially Dr. Ludger, the German scientist with the cartoonish and grating accent. Luckily, the designers realized that an experience like this is best when you're left to your own devices. And thankfully, most of the game time is spent alone. Though you do have a radio you can use to contact your team members and ask them questions, they'll make sure to remind you of how busy they are and how they do not want to talk to you.
I found out how to open doors back in the Nexus. There's a tram that leads out here.
Look, Boston, I think it's great you're finding things out, but I'm trying to concentrate here.
The graphics are another mixed bag. Though never bad, it had the longest development time out of all the LucasArts titles, so maybe that's why the graphics are so uneven. There's both 2D and CG animation. The former isn't all that great, and while the CG scenes are impressive for the time, as they were made by Industrial Light and Magic, they suffer from graininess, presumably caused by compression. Some of the little details in the game world are also pixelated, but that should be expected. Overall, The Dig is a worthwhile game for the fact that it's one of the best examples of a game where you have to explore an alien world on your own, but it loses steam at the end and suffers from boring dialogue and unlikable characters.